Welcome everyone to Nothing Less Than Extraordinary. I have my fantastic coach, Kyle Lemon. So welcome to the show with me. Thank you so much for being here late at night, Kyle.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's okay. We made it happen.
Yeah,
We got some
exactly.
busy schedules.
With busy schedule and juggling family and all kinds of priority, it was meant to be. I always say everything happens for a reason, and when it works out, that is the divine timing for us to actually be having this discussion because you never know. I want to be able to do a brief intro of Kyle. So Kyle Lemon is the owner of Warrior MMA in Pincourt in Canada. So if you're asking where is that Pincourt, it's in Canada here, and he's also a martial art instructor since 2008. He worked as a personal trainer for many, many years over decades ago. And he's the father of a one and a half. So he has a baby boy, a fantastic little cute baby boy, and one in the oven that's about to be coming up soon. So congratulations to you, Kyle.
Thank you. We want to talk about life changing.
Yes, exactly. So tell me a little bit. We're going to go through your journey and we're going to touch a little bit on fatherhood and juggling, being a business owner and all of that stuff. But I want to be able to highlight you. So tell me a little bit into the audience, Kyle, where you were born and where you were raised.
I mean, as much as I look a little different, I am white as they come. I was born right, I was born right here in Montreal. You know, mom was from Quebec, English out of Quebec. Dad was from Nova Scotia, but we're born here in Montreal. And for the most part, I've lived in Montreal, in Vaudreuil, and Pincourt, Pero for most of my life. Up till now.
Hmm.
So.
Hmm. And so, Kyle, tell me, like, what sparked your interest into going into martial art? At what age did you know, like, oh my God, I want to be able to go and learn more about this craft and this art? What really piqued your interest?
Depends on what story you want to hear. But for the most part, it was in me from the start. I think I was lucky to grow up in the 90s. '90s were big on the Power Rangers, the Ninja Turtles. We had
Yes.
them going on. Uh, MMA wasn't really visible at that time yet. We
Mm-hmm.
had pro wrestling on TV or like whatever, but the fighting stuff was visible. So even in elementary school, before I started training, I in my mind I wanted to be a ninja. I was showing my friends how to fight invisible ninja. I had this some sort of overgrown sense of justice of defending my friends against bullies and stuff, and
Mm.
so I just knew it had to happen one day. There's things in my life that kind of push me towards making it happen sooner.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably get into that.
Mm-hmm. And so talk to me about the milestone. I thought it's beautiful because every little boy have these ninja story and I love like the Ninja Turtle. I've always because growing up in the Asian culture, martial art was a big thing and I watch a lot of Chinese movies. So those are my heroes, right? So but martial art, I think it is to you, and you'll tell me the definition of martial art for you. But for me, martial art isn't just a form of combat. To me, martial art means way more than that. To me, it's a level, a whole complete level of self-mastery is what martial art is to me, is to be able to have full control of your being, your physical, your mental, your spiritual, and being completely connected to a different level, what that is, almost at a very spiritual level. And what it really grounds for me, why for me, it's a form of art. It's a beautiful art. It's just like watching somebody perform figure skating or perform hockey or an athletic thing. So I love all kinds of art, whether it's painting and stuff. So martial art for me is another form of art, but then I get to like punch and kick people, not just for the fun, if it's in a combat for sure, right? But it's more than that. So what is it martial art for you?
I mean, I think as much as I grew up on Dragon Ball, I wanted to get the chi out and the power and everything. I think we can't forget what this truly is, and it's to me it was all about defending myself and defending the people like around me. And when I grew up in the traditional martial arts, we had this sense of the art thing and the self mastery, and I think that was pushed too far in the
Mhm.
traditional sense, where I don't think you'll ever have mastery of anything in your life. I don't think that's real. I think it's something to push towards, but I don't think it happens. Okay, and
Mhm.
I think people get lost in this, where especially in the traditional martial arts, when you want people to call yourself master and this and that, I don't think it's real. I think it's a thing that you have to work towards, and it gives you this goal because we play a very dangerous game. So we
Mhm.
have to play it in a way that is relatively safe for everybody. And I
Mhm.
think that in that sense will teach you self control, you know, and taking care of others in a dangerous scenario. But I don't think that we cannot forget what the true nature of this is. It's of at least my world of kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu Jitsu, wrestling, MMA. Like what
Mhm.
it is truly is combat sports, and it can never be watered down as other sports have. That's where I'm at in
Mhm.
my career now. I'm way more of a purist to what these arts are truly, and to me, the spiritual side of it is just being confident in yourself, and as long as you're confident, I think people have different sense of spirituality. To me, it's like as long as I feel confident in myself, I'm
Mhm.
fine in my body. As long as I know my skills are developing and the skills of my students are developing, that
Mhm.
also gives me confidence. But to me, I'm a purist right now. It's not about calling someone master or
Mhm.
telling anybody that I'm master of whatever. Like
Mhm.
my goal is only progression, self progression, and progression of others, but there's no end to this. I don't think that
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Like I have a trouble with traditional martial arts right now, with the sense of like I'm master this, I'm master that. That's
Mhm.
not real. It's not real. You know, you should always look to improve. You should always be a student, even if you are the coach. People have put way too much emphasis on, oh, my master this, my coach is this, my master this. Like we're
Mhm.
just normal people, dude. You know, like
Mhm.
we're just good at what we do because most people are good at their job because that's the only thing that they put 40 hours a week in is their
Mhm.
job. You know, me, I do fighting, so
Yeah.
I'm good at this. You know, I'm not a good
Mhm.
carpenter. I'm not a good accountant. You know, so I ain't no master of anything. However, I'm pretty good at what I do here.
Yeah. And that is very true. You're very good at your art, at this. But I think Bruce Lee would definitely agree with you because Bruce Lee will never cease to perfect and progress. I think people get lost in the wording, in the title, in the definition, I think every person is different. Whatever definition that serves them, just like this definition has serves you and it works well for you, that's good. So for somebody else, it might be something completely different. As long as they're progressing, they're not harming anyone, they're not harming themselves in the process. For me, whatever it's called, I don't give a I don't give a shit about what that form is. I just think that if every single day you're progressing and you're becoming better, you're showing up, you're wanting to learn, to evolve, I think the definition of the more you know, the less you truly know.
Oh,
So I think,
absolutely. I think the
yeah,
more that you know about something, the more you realize you know nothing about it, and you should dive
exactly.
into it. You know.
Exactly. And I think that's what Bruce Lee says is that he'll forever be a student of life. It never ceased to stop. The more you're learning, the more you realize you know so little and the more you want to know. But I think as you progress and you want to, we're just average Joe and Jane in this life, trying to do our very best, trying to show up in our highest potential as much as we can. That's all we can really aim for. So I think there's a danger zone when somebody is either a master or guru of something or pretend to have all the answer. Nobody has all the
Absolutely.
answer. hmm We can work towards trying to get on that path, but we'll never have all of the answer because somebody else hold the other part of the answer that we don't have. That's why coexisting in a community and exchanging and collaborating, we bring the best in each other because we got certain things that we don't have access to. We might know a lot, but there's a whole lot more that we don't know. So I agree with you 100%. And so when you were going, like, I think there was the sense of justice when you said something that really resonated with me was you didn't want your friend to be bullied. That's something that also strike a chord in me as well. Like the sense of justice, the sense of protecting your loved one and your friend. So talk to me more, expand on that a little bit more.
Well, okay, let's hop into. I had a bit of a weird childhood. Okay, now my parents split up. Long story short, parents split up. I'm five. We moved with mom to a bit of an odd place in Montreal, DDO.
Hmm.
Um, where all the kids get together in the backyards from different parenting, and we're in the '90s here, so like we don't have no iPad, so we play outside, which is good.
Yeah.
So and already there, like you have to picture, I'm like from 5 to 9 maybe in this era,
Yeah.
and we have all the kids hanging out together, and we have one kid that's way older than us,
Hmm.
and for lack of a better word, I got the shit kicked out of me a lot,
Hmm.
as as a young kid,
Yeah.
and and of course at that time I was small and couldn't defend myself, but it
Mhm.
left me with a bit of a chip on my shoulder, or something that I needed you know, to
Mhm.
prove, or probably, it's hard to remember those days, but I'm assuming because I was probably a little bigger than the other kids that I would be the only one standing up to a big
Mhm.
kid here, and that's probably why I got the ass whoopings.
Mhm.
But so let's say like that was the first sense of like, oh man, like I'd being a victim sucks. So
Yeah.
I have to do something about that.
Yeah.
But of course I'm a kid, can't do too much at that point. So
Mhm.
eventually we moved to El Perro, where I kind of still reside to this day.
Mhm.
You change school, you make new friends, and you know, you enter this new school, and of course you figure out who the bullies of the school are. And
Yes.
now I'm a little bigger at this point, however I am 10, 11 years old, and I have this sense. And of course I have different types of friends, and I have some that are a little more mouthy than others. They're
Mhm.
good kids, but sometimes they not
Mhm.
go. So, and I remember having to protect one of my friends, especially. He's a smaller dude, so smaller guy. So I just kind of didn't want to see him, you know, get his butt kicked as I did, stuff like that. So kind of remembering the bad things that I went through. I would remember being there to defend him all the time and having to take down way bigger guys
Mhm.
to like protect him. So it gave me that, I guess, that sense of what I would want to do for myself, or how I wanted someone to protect me at the time. At least I can
Yes.
start giving it to
Mhm.
someone else. So that was during elementary school. That was a fun time.
Mhm.
Then once I got to high school, like first week in high school, some kid like rams my head in the locker room, like first
Oh.
week, or for no reason, like just a odd time. So, and I hadn't started training yet. Like my parents put me in karate or taekwondo when I was 8, but I wasn't
Mhm.
ready. I was
Mhm.
still an excited young guy. And but
Yeah.
then, but this time, you're like 12 or 13.
Mhm.
You're getting attacked for no reason. So now you got the teenage hormones kind of coming in. So I just remember now's the time. I said that there's no way I'm going to be a victim for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
I need to make something happen right now.
Mhm.
And it's kind of luck, actually. As after school, I used to kind of walk home from school every now and then, and so I stayed at school, and I saw there was this open room, had a punching bag in it,
Mhm.
and I would just kind of go like a whale on it, with the elbows and punches and knees and kicks, and just like kind of let it all out. And
Mhm.
this kind of taekwondo group came in, and they asked me if I wanted to try, and I said sure, and that was my first start. I ended up about 15 years of that, 8 that I was only doing that, and then I moved on and
Mhm.
had a sense of it, and then that was cool because it gave me something to to focus on. I got to
Hmm.
compete a bunch. I competed like 10 years straight, six competitions a year, two, three
Hmm.
fights per competition. So I had that sense of like learning how to fight, being combative, and just kind of getting the ball rolling from there.
I love that story, Kyle, because it will resonate with a lot of youth. Like, it makes me think of a story of John Cena, the famous wrestler, became an actor, and he became so beef and puff because when he was younger, he was so skinny and he was so small and he was being bullied. And although I know you said it's like almost at the time you had a chip on your shoulder to prove, I think that's a good thing in some extent if it's utilized properly and you were able to utilize that properly where you kind of fell into this whole martial art thing. It gave you something to focus on, something to actually have like an ambition, look forward to, and then you got competition. It keeps you away from trouble. I think that is really good as a message for younger youth that, when you're being bullied as a kid, you feel powerless, like there's nobody to protect you. And so you can choose to either be a victim or choose to do something about it. And you made a choice. Your choice was like, this sucks, man. I don't want to be the one that's being the victim all the time. I want to be able to do something about it. And when you look at the different student that comes to your class, the younger one to the bigger one, is that training in your gym, it gives them a level of confidence, a level of certain control, and there's a sense of like, ooh, like I'm learning new skills, and at the same time, like they feel good about themselves, right? It's giving them that piece of confidence that they can learn something and put something concrete into applying. Would you say that?
Yes, I think hopefully what people get out of here over time
Hmm.
is getting rid of victim mentality, and
Hmm.
that sounds like bad because some people like if you get let's say a bad childhood, bad parents, and you always get kicked down, and you never realize why you have that mentality. It's hard to get over it.
Yeah.
You need a lot of introspection to figure out why, and I remember having it as a kid, feeling powerless, and eventually like what do they say? It's like when you're fed up of your own shit, you'll start to do shit. So
Yes, that's true.
so there was definitely a tipping point that I was like, that there's no more. I'm not going to be no victim for everybody, for anybody, and
Mm.
that that changed. It did not keep me out of trouble. However, at first, you
Well,
know,
it takes a
uh,
while. It's a journey, right? It takes a while till you actually go through the process, you learn about it. And I think about it like I think about like the only reason why I link it back to Bruce Lee and just because it's somebody that I admire as my model. But I think about him like he loves fighting. He loves to be challenged. When you're much younger, you got a chip on your shoulder. There's things that you need to prove, but it takes time. Over time, you learn to be more wise. You learn to use the element around you to your benefit. And I think about like how he got into so many fight until he actually had something to focus on, something beyond, gave him a sense of purpose, something to work towards. So it was similar to you. So what made you decided after going through all these journeys and competition, what made you say like I'm gonna actually open a gym to help younger youth and to help people to feel more confident and to learn this skill set. And because we all know starting a business seems like an easy task, but once you're in it, it is an easy task. It's a lot. There's a lot of like ups and down that you're going to encounter and you got to keep persisting. What kept you like what epiphany did you get to say, I'm going to open my gym? And then did you actually meet any kind of obstacle and how you kept going forward?
yeah. So yeah, let's move back to the teenage years because
Yes.
you know again, I'm at peace with it now and stuff.
Mhm.
Sorry, mom, but when I was 12, mom left to move to England.
Yes.
I moved back with my dad. We're this reconstructed family that don't know much about each other,
Mm.
and poof, off you go to high school, teenage years. Sense of abandonment from mom. So uh, there was no real authority for me growing up. So I lacked that sense of understanding authority. So that was problematic as a as a teenage guy. So like I got into the martial arts because I had the chip on the shoulder. The problem is before it became that important
Mm-hmm.
to me, school was easy, but it was very boring. So I got into a lot of trouble. I got into drugs very early,
Mm-hmm.
and alcohol and drugs like, 12, 13, 12, 13, 14, showing up at school completely hammered and like
Mm-hmm.
whether it be holding the emotions inside, not understanding them at the moment, So I got pretty bad at one point, but I was always training at the time, I was there and I was doing my best, and I remember that one time, one competition, I decided it was a good idea to like get hammered the day before and thought I was good enough, and I got my ass beat, and I probably the worst loss, So that was a lesson in like, okay, if I want to be actually good at this, like
Mm-hmm.
like we should focus here, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So that was one of them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Another story was like, I have a certain look to me, and in those years, having the long hair, you were automatically categorized as the bad boy and stuff. It's a bit of, different times. Um, so I remember being in my martial arts gym at the time, and me and another student had our sparring kind of elevated. Like we started going hard, and in that style, in Taekwondo at the time, you weren't allowed to punch the person in the face. It was in the rules. So like I remember we're going at it, and he punched me in the face
Mm-hmm.
of frustration, and I kicked his head off. As a response, because now we're fighting basically. And then the owner or instructor of the class, when he saw that, he only saw me basically kind of like
Mm-hmm.
throwing the big shots, and kind of put all the blame on me,
Mm-hmm.
and said that I could never like train again and stuff. And then at that point, that was a tipping point that made me realize how important it was to me, because
Mm-hmm.
that made me see like, what am I going to do else then at this point in my life? There's nothing else that
Mm-hmm.
gave me that sense of accomplishment, of moving forward, of acquiring
Mm-hmm.
skill, of developing confidence. And like at that moment, it I felt it like break. I could lose it. Then what
Yeah.
was I gonna do? Just fall back into nonsense again?
Mm-hmm.
So we had a talk. I came back to the gym, even though I don't, to this day, I don't think it's that. It's not really my fault. I mean, dude punched me in the head and I kicked his head off. So okay, but when you were already profiled as a certain type, and I'm not. I'm admitting that I definitely had like attitude issues and stuff.
Yeah.
I was very hot headed at the moment. People tend to think right today I'm a very relaxed person because I've gone through the fire. Now I
Mm-hmm.
now I get to
Mm-hmm.
relax.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so from that point on, I really focused on the training. I dropped a lot of the bad habits. Some stayed, but it was not as really not as much. Now I'm focused in. Maybe I'm like 16 years old. I'm doing good in competition. I'm winning everything or doing very well for the most part, and
Mm-hmm.
like I'm happy. And I remember telling my instructor, I'm 16.
Mm-hmm.
Say, I think I'm going to do this with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because here you're in like what, secondary four, and they're like, guys, you gotta choose what you're gonna do in life now. You gotta go to school. You should have your life planned out, which is
Yeah.
nonsense because who really
Mm-hmm.
knows? So I remember telling him that I think I'll do this. At the time, I was really into the taekwondo. It's funny how today I'm really not, but at the time, I was really into it, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna open a dojang. I'm gonna do this. I'm good at this. I can see myself doing this for forever. It's fine. So
Mm-hmm.
so as I'm telling him this,
Mm-hmm.
he responds by, "Well, you will never teach at my school because if you have long hair like this, you will dirty the image of my school."
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the moment, I thought it was so like obnoxious that I thought it was a joke. So I
Uh-huh.
kind of laughed it off and we left and we ended the conversation there.
Right.
And then at the next class, I asked him, hey, if you want, I could run the warm up, I could
Mhm.
start getting into it. And then he, repeated, no, no, if you cannot teach for my school if you have the look you have because it will dirty the image of my school.
Mhm.
So no, that's nonsense. But of
Mhm.
course, at the time, they just came out of like business school and they
Yes.
indoctrinated him into having some
Mhm.
certain look. But at the time, and I even use this argument, the Taekwondo is governed by a certain federation called the Kukkiwon. It's based in Korea, and at the time, I believe his name is Kim Won Sik, but don't quote me on that.
Mhm.
He, he's like the president of this organization, and he has long hair. So I'm like, guys, what are you saying? So I'm like, so you want me to be your student because I'm doing well in
Yeah.
competition, but like you don't want me to teach the people about how I'm
Mhm.
doing. I don't know. It made no sense.
Mhm.
So I took a few weeks off from his gym. When I came back, I just shook his hand. I said, honestly, our visions are too different,
Mhm.
and if you can't support my vision, then
Mhm.
I can't see myself supporting yours and aiding your growth of the school. If which
Mhm.
I'm doing a lot of at that point, is
Mhm.
the most probably one of the most active guys going. So I said, thanks for your time. I'm gonna find another place.
Mhm.
Now, thing is, the place that I found not that much better, but
Mhm.
he had a little bit, a tiny bit more open mind,
Yeah.
so he made me believe that it was okay, that I
Mhm.
could come over and we'll see about training people.
Yeah.
So I changed gym, started there. For At the beginning went well. We had some issues with my attitude again at the time, but it cleaned up over
Yeah.
time, you
Yeah.
know. But I was still rules weren't my thing. Even the style that we were learned, I
Mhm.
I like remember reverse engineering the style to always beat it, and like it kind of he didn't like what I was doing with it, but because if you see the weakness of something, if you just play there, there's
Mhm.
really not a lot of things that they can do.
Mhm.
So it went well, but then here I am, I'm like 18 or 19 now,
Mhm.
like higher level competing. We're doing well, and I tell the new master, as they call themselves, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
uh, that hey, I would like to have a class. Like at this point, I'm a black belt.
Mhm.
I'm probably the best black belt when it comes to fighting. At this point, like I should have a class at this point.
Yeah.
And kind of hits me a little bit with the hair thing. Says, your look, it doesn't represent what I represent, and
Mhm.
so I went out to the high schools in the area and I got myself booked in like their gym classes or something, with
Mhm.
the long hair. And I came
Mhm.
back to him and I said, listen, I'm booked at these two places now. And
Mhm.
he says, oh, really? And they took you with your look. Like, yes, because we're all human. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, it's just
Yeah.
it's just hair. So at that point, going forward, he allowed me to start teaching at these small elementary schools in
Mhm.
like the very suburban areas of Quebec,
Mhm.
like very countryside. Like it was an odd experience. I was teaching at these, for people that I don't know, I don't know if you even know where these places are, like Saint Chrysostome, Saint Antoine Abbey, Saint Etienne de Beauharnois, Huntington. Like these are all like
Ah,
very
okay, it's farther.
small
Yes, yes.
places. So
Uh-huh.
so I kind of started like there teaching taekwondo at the time. Wasn't a great experience because of course you just got a bunch of 8-year-olds that don't really want to train, that are just forced by mom and dad to go do something after school.
Yeah.
So I did a session at that, and maybe I'm like, by the time like 20-ish or something, and I tell them, listen, like I did it, okay, good. I'm done with this now. Like, give me a class.
Mhm.
And to his credit, he gave me the like my class that I ran for probably about 5 to 7 years. I'm a little confused sometimes when it comes to the time span, but
Yeah.
for a while I had the Sunday class. It was at noon. It was a longer class than what we were used to. There was a lot more sparring,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that the people that came to my class did way better in competition. So I became the competition coach with another man
Mm-hmm.
of the school. So I was still competing for a while, and then I'd had some long days. We'd bring kids at 9 a.m. and then I'd fight at 9 p.m. Like so I had to coach all the kids and then
Yes.
do my own competition. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, when I was about that age 20, I just knew that something was lacking in this style. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't complete at all.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of saw MMA, was poking
Mm-hmm.
its way into TV at that point, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had to start going elsewhere. I started to box around you know, it was, 20 to 22. I got into like boxing. I got into Kyokushin karate for a few
Mm-hmm.
years. That was a fun time,
Wow. So
like
you
when
explore like all these different things. I want to be able to pause because there's so much that you said in there.
sorry.
I think your story is so beautiful because isn't that the story of a lot of boys and some girls too that feel outcast and misunderstood? You with your hair that just didn't fit the image of what they had envisioned. So I want to touch point on that and the fact that you got into like drugs and then the drinking and all of that stuff. You know, when you come from broken homes for a different reason, you're dealt a certain card that you have no control over. And yet, despite it all, you manage to kind of find your path. But I want to be able to, I love your story because so many kids who are going to be watching and listening, and parents as well, they're going to actually make their kid listen to this because your story will inspire them because you came from a home that without anybody's fault, different reasons, just kind of like put you in a spot that really was not supervised. There was no adult and the kind of help and guidance that you needed. And then it led you into drugs and alcohol and some of the bad habits and, and also defining authority. There's so many people that understand this, and I'm so happy you're sharing and you're being vulnerable to share the truth because I swear, like just thinking of all of the students in our class, they're gonna hear Kyle's story for the first time. Some of them know your story, some don't, but they're gonna hear and they're gonna go, wow, I get it. I get why you do what you do. But the biggest lesson from what I've learned from that is that it doesn't matter what card you were dealt or whatever struggle. And I think your message is correct in telling people, I want to be able to open this gym to be able to stop people with the victim mentality. I think that's a very powerful purpose to drive because so many people limit themselves because they're constantly staying stuck in that victim mode for whatever reason, excuses they want. But your story somehow, despite it all, trying to figure it all yourself in this whole thing, a little bit of luck, but a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work. The second thing that you mentioned was when you actually got the lesson, you decided to go out and party and went to this competition, think you were good, you got your ass kicked. That was a good wake up call because you realize hey, if I'm going to be serious about anything, I got to really commit to this 100%. And that is true all across in life, whether it's in business, whether it's in martial art, whether it's being a partner when it comes to your romantic relationship, being a parent with your kids. You can't do it half-assed. You got to put in the effort. We don't mean to say that we're going to be 100% perfection. That isn't the aim. And I think you said it so well at the beginning. We're never going to be master or fully integrate and seize everything to the fullest. But what you can do is to try to be the best and keep moving forward. That is the aim. So choose what you're going to be deciding to do and commit to it 100%. The number three that you shared that was really powerful because before my idea, because I was so inspired by everything you say and I want to capture this and launch it back to people. The third thing that you said was that despite the image, despite the so-called perception of what people think you should be, you are a perfect exemplifier of you believe in what you felt was your truth. Their truth was their truth. It doesn't make it wrong. And you had yours. And somehow in there, you were able to find your style with the long hair, doing the martial art, even though they didn't think it fit. And even though the guy who was leading it had the long hair, which is a the hypocrisy between all of that is just
One
crazy.
time, yeah.
But I think through that is that this difference in you were able to channel a new perception, a new way of seeing martial art, a new way of being that opens a new channel of people, a tribe that will resonate with you. Um, so I remember the story when we did the martial art. You told this to my boyfriend about this guy who was smaller. I forgot. It was it in Brazil that did jiu-jitsu. He came up with his own style because he wasn't the strongest. He wasn't as powerful as everybody else, but he came up with a style using his own level of strength. And you did the exact same thing. You went with your truth, your long hair, because you were standing in your power of who you are, and you still believe there's a form of martial art that you can teach in a certain way. And here you are when you're teaching your martial art, which is one of the big reason why I chose your gym, because I was asking it to the universe. I want a gym that teach martial art where it's not strict to a certain defining thing, because I do remember Bruce Lee saying martial art is not one type of style. It's all kinds of style,
Yeah.
and it has to be versatile. It has to be fluid. It has to flow. And then when I saw your a warrior MMA and I read about the description, it spoke to me right away. I'm like, where have you been all of this time? I've been looking for this type of martial art place. And you embody it so well, Kyle. So I think to tell the younger people and to tell the adult to always stand and believe in your power, whatever feels right to you, even though the majority might say there is something, a defect as to who you are. Don't let that noise be the things that preventing you from living your truth and living your life purpose. That's what I got. I don't know if you
Well,
resonate with
absolutely.
that.
Like how many high level athletes or high level anybody that have achieved high level in anything? How many of them have been told that they can't do it? They'll never
Mm-hmm.
do it. They'll never get there. Because
Mm-hmm.
most people won't do anything with their lives. Okay, so when they see someone pushing, it's almost like it's not cool that he's trying so hard. Like, and everybody, most people will try to bring you down. Your close circle, they probably won't even care. They'll just be happy to see you when they when they see you. Like,
Yeah.
I got friends that they're just my best friends, and they don't care if I've
Mm-hmm.
been like training this hard for so long. They don't see that because we're real friends. And like, so
Mm-hmm.
if I go up or down, doesn't matter. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the people, yeah, they'll try to, probably jealousy that they're not doing anything with their lives. So that you have to make someone else feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's no one special. Okay, no
Mm-hmm.
one special. Where it doesn't matter what card you've given, if you're pretty, not pretty, big, whatever. Like no one's special. The only thing that makes people special is
Mm-hmm.
their mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm not sure if you're born with it or not. I lean towards not, and I lean towards that it's your life experience that will create the mindset
Mm-hmm.
of, like, of the warrior, of the guy that doesn't give up, of the guy have to get over the obstacles. And that's how I felt most of my life is most people hit the obstacles face first and they cry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, like, as soon as there's an obstacle, trying to find how to get around, what's the next move,
Mm-hmm.
like that's how you have to see, like, the greats have failed more than the average person have tried. You
Yes.
understand? Not
Yeah.
that I'm going to be great. I hope in a few years that this place is well renowned, and I think I'm on a good path. Things
Yes.
have been evolving recently, and I mean, I've had over 20 years to figure things out, at this point. So, but even right now, I'm going through breakthroughs of, as I get older, as for I got like three ripped ligaments in my right knee and one in my left, and meniscus tear, and a missing part of my left
Mhm.
arm, and I have a few popped ribs and I have bulging discs everywhere. Like, been through the gauntlet of, but At this point, I'm still young enough that I can train hard and go hard with the students and stuff, but I'm also getting to the point where it feels good that I don't mind as much stepping back a little bit and focusing on my role that will be this role for the next 20 years, which is more of a coach,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like let the athlete go and let
Mm-hmm.
the person who had the chip on his shoulder, that
Mm-hmm.
wanted to prove things, it's time to close to be like letting him go fully and focus on like my new role here, so hey man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading books and stuff. I haven't read books since
That's
high school,
good.
just on like the how do we learn. It's like, how do we actually learn? And
Yeah.
that's a super controversial thing. So
Yeah.
like, I'm going through breakthroughs right now, and hopefully down, a few years from now, this will show in this place.
I love it. And your gym is actually booming because the energy is good. You got a new place, a new space, situation with the flooding of your old gym. It was a misfortune, a big hassle, a big headache, and sometimes certain things happen for a reason to lead you to this path where you are right now, to finding actually a better place, a better gym, and everybody loves it, and your energy shows it as well, because I do believe energy really has a huge play a huge role in attracting in the type of abundance that you want. Or you had said it so well in the story here of delegating more, because that's what true leaders do, is that over time they make the player that are good. Like a lot of very successful people hire the smartest people to run their business. They kind of lay back, they look
Hmm.
at the bigger vision, they do part of the coaching, they step in when it's necessary. Otherwise, they step back and let the people who knows what they're doing and are passionate about it to do that craft what they're good at. And what you're good at is overseeing at a higher level. When you give the player the position of what they're capable and good at, you can do your job better at a distance and just chip in when it's necessary. And that's a harder concept to apply, but I think you're getting there. And I think it's a good thing too, especially when you have a little baby, a second baby coming on along the way. You've dedicated, you can still be present and you're still very much there. I mean, Kyle, like I see it when you're actually teaching the students, when you're there with us, you're giving your heart and soul. And that's one of the things that really speaks volume for you. Like, or 1 hour class, you would actually give an hour and a half and you don't really care about the time. You love this stuff. You're meant to do this thing, and it shows. And thank God you found your path, because so many students and so many younger generation can look up to you and go, if Kyle can do it from a home that was, a little bit, up and down and not so rose and pinky, and then you manage to find your way back, your story will tell them, if Kyle can do it, I can also do it. And that's what I wanted people to hear and see. um, and I wish so much success to your gym. I know we're all rooting for you, and I am so happy every time I come to the gym. You're either training us or you're like, I'm going home to my family. I'm like, finally, he's going home to his family because I know how much you love the gym. Look, it's like close to be 11 o'clock. You're still here with me. And I love that. But I do like the fact to hear that you're reading more and you're doing the things that really, because the more happy, the more you're rating, the more you can give back to your gym, the more you can hire the right people to do their magic so that that magic get passed on to your student.
Very hard to trust other people to step in and take some of your job.
Yeah.
Being in business now. I've had the gyms for 7 years. First 2 years were like four people that barely know each other starting a gym. There's pros and cons to that. You learn what business is. You think you have a team, but
Absolutely.
really business is cold hearted. So
Hmm.
we split there. We moved to the second gym. Same thing. I take it over from some people that were going to close it, and then I think I lacked the confidence or the experience at that point to think that I could manage it by myself.
Hmm.
So I kept them on. Things things got a little dicey, so the former owners had to leave the premise as a,
Hmm.
one we're still in very good terms with, it's fine.
Mhm.
But then from that point on, when I realized that, okay, I can do this by myself, and not only can I do it by myself, it was better. In like a year, I like tripled the memberships. So many
Mhm.
more people were competing, and so I ran that for a few years, 3 or 4 years or whatever it was, like
Mhm.
by myself before allowing someone to take a class because, as you probably know in business, it's hard to trust anybody. It's
Mhm.
hard to trust that you can give this responsibility for someone.
Mhm.
But after years, I've had a few students be with me for like three
Mhm.
years plus, and then having the family and figuring out where can I put my time to to see the
Yes.
family as well. So it came at a good time that I have
Mhm.
some trusted students that I can delegate
Mhm.
a few classes to make me finish a little earlier on some
Mhm.
nights, so I can at least see
Mhm.
family here and there.
Yeah.
Much as I love my family, I would never go back, to before having a family. Sometimes I wish I could clone myself though, because I would teach more. I would, I want to. I have projects to adding classes. I just have to either have another student or different time. So
Mhm.
I'm really hope I could grow this even more than it is right now.
It's part of the journey, right? You like when I will definitely interview at a later point as well at another time go, so how did thing evolve and what did you learn? I want to be able to say this like in the entrepreneur world, learning to trust the people. I've learned I read this book. It's a Canadian author. What is his name? It's the book, it's called How to Buy Your Time Back. It's a really great book, as a matter of fact. He's a millionaire. Started off with a kid who was really trouble, um, actually was jail. And one time the guard said to him, it's called by Dan Martell. Um, He's a great guy, like very, very successful. And he was jailed for stealing cars and doing all these bad things. And then the guard one day took him aside. He was always seen as like the trouble kid, people label because they don't understand youth. And there's a lot of youth that people don't understand. They don't fit into the profile. Doesn't make you wrong. I say find yourself, like stand in your truth. I know when you're a kid, it's like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, I just want to fit in, right? But when you grow older and you learn to find your path, your uniqueness, and you stand in your truth, that's what makes you stand out. That's what makes people gravitates toward you. So by Dan, the guard took him aside and just looked at him and said, "What are you doing here? Like, you don't belong here." And he said, "I've been here for like 15, 20 years working in this prison. I've seen a whole bunch of different personality, and you don't belong here among these people." And what it did to him was it gave him the one person that believed in him and saw something in him that he couldn't see in himself. So I want that to be a message for people who are struggling, who don't fit in, who feel like they're an outcast and they came from an underpowered family or a broken family or for a different reason, that there is a way out. There's a different path for you to take. If Kyle can do it, you can certainly do it as well. Um, but buying your time back is learning to your time on this earth may feel like when you're young, like it's an infinite, like it can last a long time, but
Yeah,
it
until you
goes
hit
by
30,
like
right?
this, right? It goes by like this. And many successful people who live a life of purpose, they feel like they don't have enough time to do the impact that they want to do on this earth. So you're living that. So I love the fact that you see the journey of your entrepreneurship. It goes through the up and down and the lesson. That is the beauty of it all. Sometimes we like to avoid some of those headaches and problem and just kind of shortcut it to some other level of success, right? But it's part of the learning curve. And it looks like you're getting into the right direction. There's going to be a few more learning, but I'm so happy and honored to be your student, to be training at your gym, to meet you as a wonderful and generous person that you are, and to love your craft. And you put in the hard work, buddy. Like, You could have bailed out, you could have chose a different path, but you stuck with it. And the other thing that you said was the moment they almost try to take away martial art from you, that is when you realize, because sometimes when something is always present in your life, you kind of like don't realize, don't understand it until the moment you almost lost it that you realize, hey, this shit is really important to me. I don't want to lose it.
I think humans were so dumb like that. Everybody's had a have a story that, like, maybe you took your girlfriend for granted and then she left you,
Mhm,
and oh my God,
mhm.
it's like, or like, your kid who plays with the toy, who's not playing with the toy, but if you take it, then oh, it's a big deal,
Yeah.
like, see, we're a little dumb like that, but I do think that once you've lived it a few times, it'll help you next time you have to live it. Like,
Hmm.
you're a little bit of aware of what happened to me last year. Like most people would have given up on the project at that
Hmm.
point. Having a
Hmm.
full flood of the basement gym and being in, like, it's it was the sewage that came up, so insurance are like, no, it's not flooding, it's sewage. So
Hmm.
sorry, dude. You know. So
Yeah.
then, having to replace everything,
Hmm.
having 2 months. The good thing I was well surrounded. I had friends, and I used the
Hmm.
boxing gym and a karate gym where we kind of started training at
Hmm.
that point, together, that I could like teach there for a while before we remade the gym. Same time I was renting a nice house. They sold the house. I got to
Hmm.
move the house, so I lost the house, moved into the
Hmm.
apartment. Thank you, Leo. You know,
Yeah, thank you to my
you
boyfriend.
know, and rebuilding the gym. Then in the first week after rebuilding, snap parts of my arm off right away, and then the owner of the building saying, "Hey, sorry, dude, we're gonna break down the building, so you got to
Mhm.
leave." Like, like
Mhm.
all this in a span of a few months. But hey, turned out fine.
Mhm.
Look at this place now. So I
Yeah,
made took
finally, I love that you're showing it. I wanted to ask you before. There you go. That is the beautiful gym. It's gorgeous. And I think like when you were saying about, I don't know if it's a mindset of not giving up on something when you see obstacle and people like they get hit and they're like, okay, I'm gonna just stay down on the ground. I think it's definitely a skill set that could be learned by anybody. Some people have it, some people are born with it, but nothing is ever given to you 100%. It's a skill that needs to be perfected, and
absolutely,
every craft can be learned. It's all just a question of practice, practice. Life is a journey of learning. Every insight, every obstacle that you stumble and fall and you lift yourself back up, you learn from that. It's insight to avoid doing the things that you didn't have the lessons from, right? So just see it as a path of like becoming. Um, I read this book. I read a lot of books, so I don't read a book physically. I love reading books because I love turning the page because every time I touch a page, I'm thinking what famous author or what famous person or what human being that has such a lead, such a wonderful life that we don't know about touched this book as I get the privilege of touching this book and flipping the page. But I do try in my time to use it as effectively as possible. Even just before going to your gym, I'm always like listening to Audible. So you always see me with like a headphone like in my ears because I'm still listening to the Audible while
hmm
I'm trying to take advantage of everything. But one of this author had mentioned in his particular book is that, like when most successful people they have a completely different mindset. Obstacle, they have the same obstacle as anybody else. They have similar challenge as everybody else, but it's all how they perceive challenges. They don't see challenges as something that will stop them. They see that as fuel. They see that as like, ooh, here's an opportunity that I can seize. And they leverage that to their advantage. And I think you did that. And when I look at my own story, my own life journey, when I lost my baby sister, I could just say, I will lay down on the ground. I am so tired, having lived through the refugee camp, my parent escaping the war in Cambodia to coming to this place called Canada, which we're grateful for. But my parent had to work days and nights, sewing 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, no car, no house, no TV, just a radio to keep them entertained. And I often would ask my parent, why you guys work so damn hard? Like, we don't have any joy. I can't even go out with my friends. I want to be a kid. I want to be like everybody else, but I can't. And every single day, my father would answer the same thing to me over and over again is that, sweetheart, before you can actually reap the reward, you have to put in the effort. You have to put in the work. And so nothing will fall from the sky for you if you don't work at it. You
No,
have to
no,
be able to
it's
work at it. So which is what you're
absolutely.
doing. Yes.
I think as, as I think about this in my mind, I think I'll get to it. But first, I don't even know if I want to call it martial artist at this point. I think that the true martial artists, however, you need the combative side. If you're not fighting, if you're not sparring, if you're not grappling, I don't know. You're doing active meditation, you know. But as a true martial artist, that a combative martial artist, the truth of what fighting is it's problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
It's high speed problem solving with like consequence, with physical consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you attune yourself to that and your mind is attuned to solving the problem in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
then when problems happen in your life, which again, life is most of it is
Mm-hmm.
problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
That's so I think having this experience with the martial arts and the fighting, it allowed me that my mind is quick to
Mm-hmm.
find solutions if there's problems. And we can't, good old expression, right? Don't cry over spilled milk. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's the point
Mm-hmm.
that you're wasting time. Like you got to
Yeah.
get something going.
Yeah.
As a true martial artist, you should be attuned to problem solving. Fighting is only problem solving, and it's up
Mm-hmm.
to you to figure it out quickly before the guy snaps your arm or punches your head or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to take that to the world with you because, as you say, you're really lucky if nothing happens to you and you get rained on with money or whatever. So, like
Mm-hmm.
most people, you're gonna have to grind through it. There's gonna be multiple times in your life that you might get fed up or discouraged or like whatever it is, and that's where if it's the first time you get discouraged, yeah, it might you might slow down, but after a while, like you can't let it happen. We have
Mm-hmm.
to push forward. At this point, I've gone through so much. I've had doctors say that I should never do contact sports. I've had so many
Mm-hmm.
like injuries at this point. I've had, of course, the wheelchair in childhood, and today here I am. I'm 35 almost. I'm as strong as can be. My skills are developing. I'm the best striker and the best grappler that I've ever been. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
besides the injuries, so I can't go 100% all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
every now and then, I get to go a bit. So and I wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't be able to continue to develop if I didn't have the problem solving mentality, and I'm
Hmm.
grateful
I
for it.
love that. I love the way you framed it as a problem-solving skill, and something about martial arts do give. Anyway, for me, anyway, it's the calmness. In moments of crisis, I am the most calmest person that you'll ever meet. And I think you have that too, is that over time I've learned, and my father always said to me, the more calmer you're able to have control over yourself, the more you're able to see solution quicker and faster and react quickly. Because when you're
Absolutely,
in a panic mode, your nervous system is not thinking straight. It's like it can't problem solve. It
it
just doesn't
cannot
see
problem solve. No, it's
solution.
not exactly. It's
Yeah, it's
not
going
ready.
into the reptile brain. It wants to react. But if martial art teach you something, it teach you to really center yourself, to stay calm. And it's almost like I don't watch The Matrix. I can't seem to get into the Matrix movie for whatever reason. I love the movie, but I can't seem to get into it. But what it does, what I do understand about the Matrix is when you are able to have a hold on yourself, to be so centered, things do slow down. You see solution, you see like almost like you see everything's in front of you. You see how people react, the interaction, and how things display, and then you see all of the different things that you can see. So For me, martial art is yeah, it's fun. It's hitting things and all of that. I'm always pushing myself, and I love training with the girls, but I also love training with the boys because to me, it pushes me to a limit that I know that will tap into a type of energy that is within me. It needs to come out, right? So every time I'm done training with the boys, actually, the last time I trained it was with what's his name? I can't remember.
Friday. So with me, it was Friday. So
No,
guys,
it wasn't Friday. It was
huh?
actually on a Thursday. It was in Moyes. It was another gentleman. He's
Yeah,
Italian. I was training with Max. Max was there, and Max is so good. You got good people. You got Mike and you got Max. They really they have a lot of admiration for you, and they have a lot of respect for the work, and they love the student there. So you're well placed in that way. Um, but I was training with that gentleman, and when I was done with it, and that's what I was telling Leo, I love working with the girls, but I also love when I get to push my limit once in a while where I get to get my beast out. And the only playground I get to get the beast out is at your gym. So I'm like, I can't do that at home once in a while, throw my boyfriend on the floor, but I can't hurt him all the time. Be like, what are you trying to do? Whereas at your gym, I have every excuses.
true martial arts. It's
Yeah.
the truth. There's only two real styles, striking and grappling, and you should be able to spar and do both. That's it's the only real way to learn how to be combative in fighting. So yeah, great place here to come fight.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Hey, Ree showed up Friday MMA class, got put up with a dude where she had to just get kneed in the stomach and tossed to the ground and punched in the head while she had to get off the ground. you know,
was a lot of fun. It
did it
was
without
hard
complaining at
because
all.
he was, yes, it
Bigger
was
than you
hard.
and everything. Well,
But it was good
super.
because every guys that are there, they're such gentlemen. The guys that are there, they are very respectful, and oftentimes they're always so worried, like, "Am I hitting you too hard?" I'm like, "No, you don't understand. I grew up with brothers, so hit me harder." It's like, it's fun. I'm like, hey, finally, I get some bruises when I get to go home. I have a proof that I've been working out or something.
Yeah.
But I don't want to injure myself. I'm just saying that as jokingly. We're coming close to the hours. I have so much fun talking to you. I definitely will have you back, Kyle. But I want to be able to say this. If you could speak to your younger self, what is the three tip that you would pass on to your younger self? Because when you speak to your younger self, you're going to be speaking to the younger audience and for us as adults too. What is the three lesson that you learned in life that you
Not
would
sure,
like to tell your younger self?
not sure if I can give three, but one is no one's special. Okay, no one's special. Don't um, compare yourself to people and think you're less. It's not real. We're all the same, and like it doesn't matter. We're only what we do in life.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you think this person is, like especially like young guys or your young girls in high school, where people have a persona or a character or whatever, and they get intimidated fast. It's not real. It's not
Yeah.
real. Like we're all the same. The only thing that will define you is what you actually do,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and your experience that gives you the mindset to actually do it. No one's special. Okay, don't compare yourself. Better yourself.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what you're trying to say is that not to say that no one is special, it's not to put somebody at a pedestal above you. You are special in yourself. I think people are special, but in the sense that not special, that somebody is above you.
So
Your own
what?
person. Yeah,
Yeah, what I used to tell myself in high school once I figured it out, I said, no one is like more special or
exactly.
than me, but I'm also not more special than anybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
it allowed me to see everybody on the same level playing field, and that
Mm-hmm.
made a lot more sense to me. I saw
Yeah.
people for who they were, not who they wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
and who you want to be is fine. Be who you
Mm-hmm.
want to be. You'll work for it, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
get there. But everybody, we're on the same playing field,
I
you know.
love that. And then like a lot of successful entrepreneur, that's what they say. The people who succeed in life, they're not more smarter than you, they're not more charisma than you. They might have some skills that you don't have, but you got skill that they don't have. So they're not any more special, any more intelligent, any more charismatic, any more intelligent than you. We're all equal. We just have to use what has given to us and leverage it to our advantage. Sorry, continue.
No, absolutely. And I think one is if you do have an idea or a path that you believe in, as much cheesy as it sounds, let's say, yeah, follow your dreams. But in my case, I remember having the dream, when I was like 16, having it crushed over and over and over to a point that I wasn't sure if I was ever going to do it again, but I kept it alive in my mind.
Hmm.
And so, like, never, if you let it go a little bit, the dream, just never forget it, and like come,
Hmm.
come back to it when it's time. And see, today, I don't teach Taekwondo because I'm so over it. I teach K1 style kickboxing, and I call it submission grappling at this point because I don't like that many rules and when it comes to stuff. So, but the dream that I had when I was 16, not only did it work, but to me it got bigger than what I thought it's going to be. So I said, as long as you keep it alive, stay focused on it, and it doesn't matter what other people say because they're on the same playing field as you. So it doesn't matter what they say. So
Hmm.
keep it active and you'll get there. Anybody can get
Oh,
there.
I like that. Light the flame because somebody said something, act on inspiration. And that is a good thing to say because we have fear. So when we don't act on the moment of inspiration, then we let our self-doubt takes over and then the fear just like, oh no, you're not capable. So I do that as a practice often, is that no matter how fearful I am at anything like launching this podcast, I know shit all about launching a podcast, but I had an idea and I wanted to honor people's life story, like your story and so many others that needs to be heard. Otherwise, nobody actually hear about it. I was like, I don't want to just interview celebrity. Yes, I do have celebrity on my show, but I want to interview the average Joe and Jane because their life story fascinate the shit out of me. I love humanity. So I want a platform that when I die on my grave, it says she interviews so many life stories. This girl is crazy. So that's what I want to honor. And I think lighting the flame and keeping that alive, even though if you have moments where you're not able to dedicate it 100%, just like take a pause at it, but always keep it lit. And I think to see you being successful and being able to do this at the age of 16, you had an idea and you act on inspiration and you made it come to life. And here today, you get to reap part of the reward and it's going to continue to grow. That is the exciting part, Kyle. So, congratulations to you. I am so happy for you.
Thank you, Ree. Happy to have you too. You're a breath of fresh air. So yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you. So, Kyle, I'm going to leave you with the last note, a quote, an inspiration that has served you well in your life that you want to pass on to the audience and kind of close us off beautifully because this conversation has been just so inspiring, so many beautiful things. And I'm so happy that I pushed to interview you. I'm like, fuck, the story is good.
So many things we haven't talked about. It's okay.
We'll
For the
talk some
most part,
more. I mean,
yeah,
in
yeah.
an hour, we can't cover it all.
For the most part, guy, just don't be a victim and do something. Doesn't matter what you do. Do something. Like
Yes.
whatever you want to do. Like you're not here for that long, dude. Do something you like.
I love it. I love it. Kyle, I think it's a beautiful way to quote. It doesn't matter what you do, just do something, pick something. You open a door, and that door will lead to other door to discovering what you're really good at, what you really enjoy. But it takes the decision to choose to do something rather than staying down on the ground and staying as a victim. So thank you
That's
so
it.
much for that. I love
Oh,
it. I'm going to wish you a fantastic night, Kyle, and thank you for being with us, for passing on your wisdom and your knowledge. And I'm wishing you so much success and congratulations on your baby and having a little bit more time for the family and mostly for yourself because you have to take care of yourself so that you can show up for your family and show up for the passion and the students that are cheering on your success.
thank you, Ree, for having me. See you
It's my
around.
pleasure. I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. Have a great night.